I don't believe that live network television coverage is going to reflect that, because it was very obvious that Donald Trump was not trying to be the great uniter last night at all. The only time he brought up unity, as a matter of fact, was when he was talking about how in order to unite this country, you have to drop all of the cases against me, which seems like some of the media coverage, because I wanted to see how the media would frame Donald Trump's statements, because he started off with like emotional calls and being like, I wish it was so emotional. I cried tears. I will never tell you the story ever again. And it's like, he did that, and that's fine. You know, he's going to milk it. Obviously, he got that. But then he turned around and basically did the rally, I think, that he was going to do before he got domed, right? Like, he literally went for 2 hours nonstop. He broke his previous records in both 2016 and 2020 for longest speech at a convention, like longest presidential candidacy acceptance speech was formerly broken in 2016. Then that was broken again by Trump in 2020. And then he broke it again this time around. And he was unstoppable in terms of yapping. And the yap sesh got so out of control and so boring that I feel as though even his like most ridered MAGA fans were by the end of it like, we've heard this before. Come on, please. Lots of papers clearly printed today's front pages based on the prepared, not the delivered remarks. Yeah, it's obvious. In a departure, Trump calls for unity, healing in America. Trump emphasizes unity from the Dallas Morning News. Pioneer Press, Trump takes a unity tone. He did not. After attempt on life, can Trump unite the U.S. from the RNC? And it's so obvious. Trump, we must heal discord. Somber Trump pledges everything I have to give. And it's like so obvious that they just did not listen to the speech and turned around and wrote it, because this was not even remotely different from any of his like normal speeches. The only difference in this speech was that he did not call out Joe Biden by name, with the exception of like 2 or 3 different times. But over the course of the 2-hour speech that he delivered, he rarely talked about Joe Biden, which I think was strategic. And it wasn't because he wanted to do a call for unity. It was because he knows that Joe Biden might not be the candidate. So he switched the narrative. He switched the narrative from Joe Biden to this administration. He kept saying this administration. Why did he say this administration? Because he recognizes that there's a high likelihood that Joe Biden drops out and Kamala Harris replaces him on the ticket. Tonight has been a journey for us all. Oh, here, this is a pretty good summary of like how the speech started and where it went. It's a weird but pretty good speech. The past few weeks have gone about as badly as possible for Democrats, and they're likely underdogs against Trump, regardless of who they nominate. But the opportunity to reset the campaign with a non-Biden nominee is a twist of good fortune. Semi-retract this tweet. This speech is boring but there are worse things politically speaking than being boring. Fully retract and rescind. Sometimes it seems like both parties are trying to throw this election. It's not sometimes, it's all the time. Everything that I have seen from both parties so far in this election cycle is a race to the bottom. They are trying to do what Felix likes to call the record-breaking election, where only 50,000 people vote. It legitimately feels like both parties are locked in this like weird secret deal where they're like, how can we get like 99% of eligible voters to not vote in this upcoming election? Because Republicans regularly at the state level keep doing insane, like they're like, hey, I know right now that we are called the Christo-fascist party, but I don't really care. I do want to do Christo-fascism. I think we should, I think we should force everyone to read the Bible for 3 of the courses in class until grade 8. And it's like, why did you do that? Where did this come from? Absolutely 0 people were demanding this. Why are you just popping off like this? Okay. We need to put a copy of the 10 Commandments in every classroom, shit like that. And it's like, no one asked for this. You're just kind of popping out of the gates with no reason right now. They'll be like, oh yeah, right now, this is a time when like everyone is dialed in on abortion and women's bodily autonomy and reproductive rights. let's ban IVF, or let's make a serious on the record statement. Let's get together. Let's bring all the Baptists together and let's officially make a statement about like restricting IVF, which is polling at like 90%, like 98% approval. You know what I mean? Why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? That's the Republican side. On the Democratic side, we have a carcass. The Democratic platform is not unpopular. Democratic senators and Democratic congresspersons that are running on the same ballot underneath Joe Biden have been outperforming Joe Biden, sometimes by 10 points, which is insane. Now, that number is actually closing in. Why is it closing in? Because people are recognizing that Biden is a carcass, and that has down ballot consequences as well. You don't have a lot of split ticket voters. That's not like a real thing. Joe Biden, every other day when he is not like going, when he in his more coherent moments, is talking about how much he loves Israel and talking about how much he wants to do Trump-style immigration policies, basically making sure that not a single Hispanic or a young voter, sometimes both, because the Hispanic vote is pretty young in some of these important states like Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico, is basically ensuring that no young Hispanic ever votes for him, okay? Which is weird. Don't understand why Biden is just like desperately trying to make it so that if you're under the age of 35, you just definitely won't vote for either candidate. So the instincts are very weird on both sides. Very strange election. This part was crazy. I legit thought it was photoshopped. Did Trump walk on stage at the RNC in front of a giant sign that said come? What? No. What do you mean mostly true? Anyway, we're going to talk about the ICJ ruling as well. Of course, chatters, calm down. It's in the docket, okay? Please. Obviously, it's a historic ruling from the ICJ. So it makes sense. Most young people are more anti-capitalist and they don't want them to mobilize. The sign did say come. It was anti-Kamala messaging. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get back to serious business for a second. But let's hear what the media had to say, because I feel like a lot of the reaction, I was fearful that a lot of the reaction to Trump's RNC speech was going to be the classic, like, he became president on this day. He was doing a great job. He was so united. And some of the local news, some of the local press reflects that false narrative, especially in the titles, as we just saw. However, I don't believe that live network television coverage is going to reflect that, because it was very obvious that Donald Trump was not trying to be the great uniter last night at all. The only time he brought up unity, as a matter of fact, was when he was talking about how in order to unite this country, you have to drop all of the cases against me, which seems a little self-serving, doesn't it? All right, let's take a look at what the media had to say, though.
All right, turning now to that big night at the RNC and former President Trump's first speech since Saturday's attempt on his life. Accepting his party's nomination, he spoke of unity while also repeating the attacks and false claims that have helped divide this country. Tony is in Milwaukee, where he has been leading our coverage. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, Nate. You laid it out pretty well there. His voice was softer, his ear was still bandaged, and he promised to be president for all of America. But after Donald Trump detailed in sober tones Saturday's attempted assassination and said the division and discord must be healed, Donald Trump returned to being Donald Trump. He returned to form. And by the time he finished, after midnight Eastern time, he'd called a former House Speaker crazy, re-upped false claims of cheating last election, and accused Joe Biden of destroying America. So for more on this, I'm joined by Ed O'Keefe, who was on the floor with me to the balloon-filled Ed.
Yeah.
Good morning to you.
Good to see you. Look, there was that talk of unity, but perhaps most strikingly, the president spent much of the address recounting his harrowing brush with death.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight.
It was pretty cool when he said that President Bukele, which is a right-wing darling, by the way, Nayib Bukele, a right-wing darling. He is like spoken at right-wing conventions, okay? A crypto weirdo who swapped out the official currency of El Salvador to like Bitcoin, who is very famously incredibly reactionary in terms of dealing with crime in his country. He like built this massive prison facility. We've watched it before. We've watched like YouTubers go there and glaze up this like concentration camp that has now a really harrowing record of human rights violations. Donald Trump claimed that Bukele was actually secretly sending all the MS-13 guys into the United States of America after training them to be more violent. Donald Trump also said hundreds of thousands of Americans are being murdered by migrants, which was crazy. It was nutty. Like, the tone was a little bit different. He wasn't as fired up, which I think contributed to how boring the speech was. But having said that, the message was incredibly violent, incredibly reactionary. Okay?
Not supposed to be here.
The longest acceptance speech in convention history began with a dramatic recounting of the assassination attempt.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. If I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight.
Former President Donald Trump honored firefighter Corey Compertori, a father of two who died in the shooting, protecting his wife and daughters.
He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. When he kissed, Donald Trump was on point last night. I will say this much, okay? There were a couple moments where Donald Trump popped off, okay? When he kissed the firefighter helmet, that was incredible. I thought that was wild. But also, when he blew a kissy poo at Hulk Hogan before his speech, I think that was the best part of the night. Here it is. Donald Trump blew Hulk Hogan a kiss after his RNC speech. I am not lying. That was incredible. What was he thinking? Like, what was going on there? It's just like, it literally jumped out of him. He is so bi-coded. He is zesty. He is queer. Okay. I'm sorry. This is a lock. He got so excited at this big hulking man glazing him up. Okay. This big entertaining hulking man glazing him up. And goddamn, Hulk Hogan's speech was entertaining, I will admit. Okay. That he literally, the emotions jumped out of him. And he just was like, what can I do in this moment? He wasn't even thinking at that moment. Like, he was just reacting. I enjoyed Hulk slipping up and calling him Donald Dick Gay Trump. What? Yeah. Donald Trump also had some funny moments where he ignored Tiffany Trump. That was funny. Donald Trump literally on his own speech was basically like, it was shocking how good Eric Trump was. Am I right? And it was crazy because he was just like dunking on his own son. He literally just hates his children, except for Ivanka. Yeah, no kissy poos for her. All the kissy poos are reserved for Hulk Hogan. He loves Barron and he loves Ivanka. That's it. He hates Don Jr. He despises Eric Trump. He does not even care. He forgets that Tiffany is his like actual daughter. But yeah.
What a fine man he was.
At times, Trump tried to emphasize unity, saying division in the country must be healed.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America.
But if reelected, Trump said he would work to restore
Southern speed, but isn't a Trump vote just further improving most of the average chatters in here? I feel like with how the economy has been, it can only aid better with our economy along with what is to come. Yeah, no. Donald Trump's policies did not improve your life, with the exception of the stimmy checks that you got during COVID. But beyond that, Donald Trump's policies did not improve the American economy, and it certainly did not improve the economy for the actual working class Americans, which many of my community is comprised of. I don't think I have a lot of landlords and real estate moguls in here. So I highly doubt that unless you're like, you know, C-suite executive at Raytheon or whatever, or not even just Raytheon, but like ExxonMobil, I doubt that you saw genuine improvements in your material conditions under the Trump administration. You're just experiencing amnesia, okay? The moment I get my bag, I'm canceling my subscription and hating hard. Good luck to you, chatter. I hope you get your bag, and then I hope you double up on your bag by joining the fuck Hasan economy, which is robust. Not as big as it used to be, but robust regardless. But before you, obviously, when you get your bag, though, you better come back in here and give some subs at the top of the hour to make sure that all of the other chatters who also want to hate can hate more efficiently. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Even if your favorite broadcaster turns into your least favorite broadcaster. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Trump, like any grifter prophet, was inheriting an improving economy and took credit for it. Yeah, that's the classic. That is also the classic Republican gambit. Democrats come in and they have to redirect the economy, at least under capitalist market conditions, redirect the economy under capitalist market conditions into like a growing economy. And then obviously their 8 years are over. So then the Republican can come in and f up again. And then the Democrats have to come back in and fix it. It doesn't usually happen with a one-term swap. It usually happens at the end of 8 years. I mean, if you recall, George W. Bush absolutely gutted everything and oversaw the collapse of the American economy. And then Barack Obama had to come in and pick up the pieces and then change the direction, only for Donald Trump to come in and, take advantage of that and drive it further off of a cliff. That's such a cop-out. I don't think it's a cop-out. This was a unique moment. What you're describing is not the norm. George H.W. Bush raised taxes and Clinton took credit for the surpluses. What I'm describing is something pretty, it's a pretty common trend. The biggest scion is the Fuck-Hasan pipeline is currently spiraling out of control and now claiming I run Twitch. Wait, really? Yeah, I run Twitch so hard that when Donald Trump got Twitch literally didn't even have adequate bandwidth to cover my immediate increase in viewership. And I just literally I was getting rate limited by the company that I run secretly. And they had to go back and fix the problem. Anyway, is there somewhere you can prove that so I can show my father-in-law? Sure. All right, let's continue.
What in his view, the Biden administration has undone.
With proper leadership, every disaster we are now enduring.
Yeah, I run Twitch. That's why I demanded that Donald Trump's account get reinstated.
Will be fixed, and it will be fixed very, very quickly.
Former First Lady Melania Trump made her first appearance of the week last night to watch her husband accept the nomination, as did Trump's oldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner. The evening at times resembled a pro wrestling tournament, less a traditional campaign rally.
When they took a at my hero, and they tried to the next president of the United States.
This was fire.
Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother.
Delegates
that was sick. That was actually sick. I'm sorry. It's very stupid, and everyone will be like, "Oh, it's idiocracy," but honestly, that was fire. Call me a stupid idiot the way I thought that was awesome, okay? I don't know what's wrong with this country. Many things are wrong with this country, but I will say that was not one of the things that was wrong with this country. It was awesome.
Brooke McGowan from North Carolina believed Trump's speech capped a momentous week for Republicans.
He took a bullet for us on Saturday, and we could have had a much different outcome this week. This could have been a week of mourning and scrambling to try to figure out who would be our nominee, because no one can hold a candle to Donald J. Trump.
In response to the speech, the Biden campaign noted former President Trump never made any mention of issues like access to abortion services or his support for January 6 rioters, and they said the choice for voters now has never been more clear. Tomorrow, Trump heads for his first campaign rally with his running mate, J.D. Vance. They're off to the battleground state of Michigan, Tony.
Yeah. And for the record, longest convention speech ever.
Can't repeat that enough. It was a long night.
It wasn't. Get some